Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new to me, my name is Lauren and I'm healing my chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue by healing old emotional wounds from my past. And I discovered this because I had been searching for years for answers for something that would help me start to heal, and I wasn't getting anywhere until I got desperate enough to start in on emotional wounds. And within 1 month of starting to heal emotional wounds, to digging this stuff up and out of me, my health, my energy, my chronic fatigue, my adrenal fatigue started to improve. It was incredible, and I had not experienced, out of all the things that I had tried, I had not experienced an up level in my energy. In all the things that I had tried, things might help for a few days, maybe a week, or what usually happened is everything that I tried ended up making me worse. And eventually I got to this point where I felt like I was getting signals, I was being told by the universe, that's not the way. Those external things are not the way to heal your illness. So eventually I got desperate enough that I got to try something else. I've got to try something else, somewhere else, something. I just got to find something. And that's when I very serendipitously was put in front of me information about the vagus nerve and the connection that it has with trauma. Dove me into a path that I have been on for the last year and a half. And I have never in my entire life, even before I developed chronic fatigue, had this much energy. Never in my life. And this is what I want for you. So, on this channel, I talk about how to identify and heal the wounds from our early lives. But today I want to talk about the possibility of a wound being rooted in a past life. So a few months ago, I was turned on to the idea of past lives. I've heard of past lives. I didn't know how to believe it. I was just like, I don't know. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I don't understand it. I don't know anything about it. But this man, Ainsley McLeod, was put into my YouTube feed one day, and I felt compelled to push on it, and that was the start. I went in deep and learned so much about past lives, and I started using that information because it resonated so deeply with me. So here's what he talks about. He talks about, and this relates directly to this illness, and I'll explain how. So this man, Ainsley McLeod, he's an amazing past life psychic. I can feel his authenticity. If you listen to him, you can feel it. You can just feel his he's for real. He knows what he's talking about. He is in it for the right reasons. He's compassionate. He wants to help, and he's healed. He's worked on himself. He's authentically a spiritual being here to help other people like you and me understand and heal things from our past lives, and be able to see and identify what things are true from our past lives that we can heal, or what separate the things that are of our present life and what things are of our past life. So one of the things that he talks about is each of us has a soul that is going through the physical form on this planet in the form of physical lifetimes. His spirit guides separate them into 10 soul ages. And we go from our young soul ages, from 1, our first lives, our first 10 or whatever lives are in this soul age of 1. We're in sort of a fearful place. Everything's new. Everything's, we're looking for simple lives. We're looking for, you want to go to work, you want to find a mate, you want to have children, you want to have a family, and you want to live in maybe a small town. You want a simple life. And it progresses up until, then you have many lives, and you sort of level up as you go when you reach certain milestones in the learning that is the process of being in the physical form. Being in a physical form on planet Earth is a method of healing, the method of healing that your soul is using to learn certain things. So this 110, 150 life journey is a journey of learning something that the soul needs to learn. So then, you go through all these lives, you're learning different things, and each soul age has different themes, different things that it's working through, different tendencies. But what he talks about is when souls get to age 8, 9, and 10, they're considered old souls. And these are the kinds of people that go searching for answers in past lives. They're the ones that seek him out for answers. They're the old souls that have old soul wisdom, but they also have old soul problems. And by that I mean, well, they tend to, some of the benefits, they tend to be more empathic people. They tend to be very sensitive people. They tend to be people who are able to connect more easily to spirituality, the spiritual side, connecting to spirit guides, connecting to soul, purpose, God, the universe. They can just connect more easily because that's just what happens over the time. So they tend to have more compassion. They tend to be more empathic, as I said, and more wise beyond their years kind of thing. So if you are a highly sensitive person or empath, and really, if you're watching this channel, you're an old soul, chances are. Even if you haven't connected yet to the spiritual world, it doesn't matter. You have that ability, and you have to be discovered, which is exciting. I'm still discovering it myself, because I've spent the first part of my life being so rejecting of that, so fearful of that, like, no, I'm very, scientific and logical, and those things just don't fit. But this illness has taught me the true reality that is what, human being living on this planet. So now what I mean by old soul problems is that you have had so many lives that there's a really good chance that in those lives, your soul experienced some very traumatic deaths, losses, traumas. As a result, when your soul experienced really traumatic death or losses or, abandonment, some really profound and horrible experiences of powerlessness, of being tortured, of being imprisoned, of being alone, of, freezing to death, of losing a child, being abandoned, things that are just, that no one can deny are traumatic. Like, I'm talking about really big trauma, things that have happened in our past lives, because the truth is the world that most of us living in the world today have a very easy life compared to anything we would have had previous. And the truth is that many centuries on this planet were extremely tough, extremely difficult. And so our soul can have memories from these traumas from past lives. And what can happen in current life when we are an old soul and we've had a lot of traumatic things happen, so they have memory of past traumas from past lives. And those can actually be carried into the next lives. And that's true at any sort of soul age. You can have previous lives that have traumas. But the thing that happens when you're nearing the end of when you're like a soul age 8, 9, 10, at least my understanding from what I learned, is that there starts to be almost this pressure to heal things from our past. And so what happens is that we are the universe puts us into families, we enter families, and we're put into situations in our lives that actually trigger the past life trauma so that we can heal those traumas during these lifetimes. So what happens, a lot of people in soul age 8, 9, 10, it starts to become centered around a lifetime of healing. There's so much to heal. It becomes a lifetimes around more spirituality, more healing, more introspection, more trying to understand yourself, trying to search for the things that need to heal in order to move forward, in order to learn the things that we're meant to learn. And so how that manifests in today's world, a lot of times the way that manifests is through physical illnesses. Now, I'm not saying this is 100% true for you, but I'm bringing this up as something to think about. When you're going on this journey of healing old emotional wounds to heal your illness, to heal chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue, I think it's important to be aware of the possibility, at least a possibility, that not all of your wounds are from this lifetime. It's possible. And we don't know, we won't really know, we won't truly know until the end of our lives and, we go on. We never know until then. But for the purpose of healing, it has helped me tremendously because I've had this nagging feeling for a long time that the stuff that I've experienced in this lifetime just doesn't seem... I had some attachment trauma. I've had some wounding. Sure, I have. But there's this way in which my illness and the physical symptoms, the collection of symptoms, the illnesses themselves, in some ways they've just always felt like there's something bigger. There's something bigger that I'm healing here than just the things that I'm looking at from my present life. And when I found Ainsley MacLeod and I started to learn about past lives, it hit so true. It was like truth. It was like, this is it. And I don't take those hits lightly anymore. I believe those hits, because if it didn't ring true for me, I'm constantly looking for answers. Like, I'm constantly looking and trying to expand, learn new things, expand, and I'm always coming across things that just don't land. And so for this to land, especially when I've been so skeptical of it in the past, says something to me that this is something I need to trust, that this could be true. And whether or not it's true, if it helps me heal, then it's worth taking on. So the idea basically is that whether or not you think the traumas or the wounds that you have in this current life are big enough, I don't know how to describe it otherwise, to cultivate to manifest this illness, these very debilitating illnesses, could it be that the wounds that you have that are causing this illness, the wounds actually originated in a very traumatic past life experience, and your soul chose, because your soul is always after learning, and so your soul chooses the family that you enter and the circumstances that you enter, the life circumstances that you enter. And so what if your soul chose your family, your circumstances, wherever you live in the world, your community, and all the aspects of your personality to help you learn how to heal that wound? So how that could be is that you entered a family in which those wounds that you were carrying from past lives were going to be triggered by a wound from your caregivers, from attachment caregivers, or from some experience that you had in your early life or later life. Past life traumas can be triggered later in life. So what if that was the trigger of your illness? What if the start of your illness was a trigger, something in your current life triggered a past life wound? It could manifest in different ways, but I would encourage you to be just open to the possibility that this could be the case for you. I think especially if you have this illness, and you have this idea, you have this pull that there's an energetic cause, there's an emotional cause, but you just don't feel like you had a traumatic upbringing or life, that you had some stuff happen, but you just don't know if it was big enough, it doesn't really make sense. Try this on for size, this idea again, and I think it's probably clear that I think this is true for me. I believe that I had some very traumatic past lives. My soul had some very traumatic past lives. And the wounds from those past lives, things about powerlessness, shame, inferiority, and lack of safety, fear of abandonment, were brought into this lifetime. And I was placed in a family situation that both nurtured me, but also created some situations and some relationship dynamics that triggered those old wounds. And it was so easy, because I had the past life wounds, it was too easy for some small, relatively small little t trauma circumstance of having an attachment figure that was not giving me the love that I needed, and wasn't connecting, did not connect emotionally in the way that I needed to feel safe and loved, that could trigger the old wound that I hadn't healed yet, that my soul has not healed yet. And because I am in the old soul ages, I believe that healing these wounds is part of my life purpose. I was given the personality that I was given. I was given the qualities. I was given the family members. I was given the circumstances, all to make a situation that would make it most likely, and nothing is written beforehand, like no future is written. No one single future is ever written. But it was, an attempt of giving all the circumstances to create a lifetime that could finally heal these wounds that my soul has been carrying for centuries. So again, I just encourage you to try this on for size. Could this be true for you? Does this resonate with you at all? What if you have some old soul wounds that are being kicked up? I think this is also really helpful in the way that, in terms of avoiding blame and fault, because I think it's so easy. It is, and so natural for us to want to blame the afflictor, the person that hurt us, the person that we had a dynamic that hurt us, the experience that we had, to be angry at that person, to think it's you did this to me, that kind of energy that wants to blame, it wants to find fault, it wants to say it, yes, you, it's somebody did this to me. We want to stay in victim mode. It's our natural, it's a natural tendency. We all do it. We all do it by default. We all do it until we learn that there's another option. And we learn how to heal enough that we can exit the victim mode. And we can be in victim mindset in all kinds of areas of our lives. We might have to heal various areas of our lives to get out of that mode. And I would encourage you to don't find fault in yourself if you find yourself wanting to blame others and find fault in the person that caused pain for you. I've done it. Everybody has done it. So when you go into your story to heal these things, when you go into the wounds and you realize maybe one of your parents really hurt you, our tendency is to want to direct anger at that person. It's like, you did this to me. And I will say, some of that, a little bit of that can be beneficial, but you don't want to stay there. You want to stay there long enough to evoke the emotion so that you can heal it with what I recommend, havening or tapping, if you like that better, EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping these acupressure points. I prefer havening, these strokes that I have another video on, because all you really need is enough of the story to evoke that emotion. When you can evoke the emotion, the pain point, or one of the aspects of the pain points, a lot of times it's jumbled, it's messy, it's not just like one point, it's like a bunch of stuff. So if you access a piece of that enough to feel that emotion, so if you need to be angry in your mind at a person, blame a person in order to evoke the emotion of anger in that moment, in order to heal it, then that can be worth doing. But you don't want to stay there, because blaming and faulting and victimizing self, being victimized by that person, does not help the healing process. The only healing that comes is what I just described. So it's a temporary state. And when you enter the state, you know that it's temporary, and I'm just using this energy to heal this. Temporary could be moments, it could be weeks, it could be months. You could be staying in a state of anger at a person for a number of months, and it's okay. I would encourage you to not direct it directly to that person, like to their face, because it's not necessary. You don't have to do that. You can pretend that the person is in front of you. You could sit in a chair and have imagine the person sitting in the chair and speaking, if that evokes the emotion for you. Or you can just talk about it with somebody else, something to bring up that energy again so that you can heal it. But what past lives really help with, at least for me, and you might find this true as well, is that past lives, when you realize that, let's say I have a fear of abandonment wound that was triggered by my relationship with my father, then instead of staying angry at him, instead of directing all my anger at him, instead of sort of blaming him for this wound that I have, what if I realize that that's not actually the root? He is not the root. He didn't do anything. He wasn't intending to hurt me. He wasn't doing anything to me in any sort of malicious way. He didn't have the ability to give me the kind of connection and love that I needed when I was a child, and just that triggered a past life wound of inferiority, of powerlessness, of shame, and I brought it to this lifetime, and that interaction, that dynamic between he and I triggered it. And so it helps to not hold on to blame. If you realize that that's a possibility, that it's possible that it's not all his fault that I have this wound, that it could be a past life, and he just acted as my trigger, the trigger for this wound that was actually a gift, because the learning how to heal the wound in this lifetime is the greatest gift I feel like I've experienced in my own personal development. Is learning how to heal a wound brings so much, I don't know what else to call it, personal development, and gets you so much closer to your true self, your purpose in life, your purpose-filled life, your mission in life, finding that feeling of fulfillment, being able to feel joy. Every wound that you learn how to heal in your life, you get closer to that place. You get closer, it's not a place, it's an experience, that closer to that experience, closer to knowing yourself. And isn't that what truly life is all about, is knowing ourselves? I mean, all the ancient religions talk about this. The point of life is to learn yourself. That might be through experiences, it's through self-expression, it's through inner work, it's through all the things that we are doing in order to heal. This illness is such a gift. I love talking about this. This illness is such a gift because it almost forces us. It gives us this opportunity. It's like you're either going to stay sick or you're not going to stay sick. And in order to not be sick, you must go through the muck. You must go through the emotional muck that you've been running from, that you don't want to feel. But on the other side is the greatest health and vitality and fulfillment and purpose-filled life that you could ever imagine. I mean, who doesn't want that? We all want that. We all want this. This is like the human condition. We all want a life of purpose and fulfillment and joy and connection. This is a way to get there. This, I believe so strongly, this is the way to get there, to heal the old wounds, whether you have an illness or not. But you and me on this channel have the illness. And so it's the illness is constantly prodding you. As long as you have symptoms, you have more wounds to heal. I mean, if you really think about it, if you think about it from an objective perspective, if you imagine yourself as not experiencing the horror of living in these wounds and the pain of living with these symptoms and this illness, can you see the gift of that is constantly prodding you to heal these things in order to get well? And then when you get well, by healing these wounds, you have a newfound sense of gratitude every day, of gratitude for everything that you can do, being able to get up off the floor, being able to lift up a ladder, being able to climb a set of stairs without huffing and puffing, without having panic attacks, without having anxiety issues, without having, worry and experiencing shame on a chronic basis. And it's like, when you're free of those things, there's no greater gift than that. And so there's this pulling. It's like once you start, it's like you can't stop. So I'm going off on a little tangent about the gift of this illness, but I just wanted to explain and talk about the possibility and just encourage you to be open to the possibility that what if this is true for you about past lives? If you're watching this channel, you're an old soul. And if you're an old soul, chances are you've had some traumatic lives. I mean, out of 100-something lives, I don't know how a soul could get through those centuries, life after life, without having traumatic lives. So if you're an old soul, you're being pushed to heal these wounds at this point in your physical form journey on Earth. What if this is true? What if this is true? How could this help your healing journey? How could it bring you inner peace? How could it bring you peace to relationships that you have that you've identified or you are going to identify have caused you pain? How could knowing this about past lives help you in that? I've explained the ways that it's helped me, but another way I will describe is that I have some other old souls in my close inner circle, and it has helped me a lot to see that in them and to realize that some wounds and really intense emotional things that maybe can't really be explained by this lifetime. It brings me a lot of peace to understand that it's a possibility that these loved ones of mine are carrying past life wounds, and that they are on their own old soul journey in this lifetime of how to heal those wounds for themselves, by themselves. It's all of our own jobs. We have our own journey. I wish I could just give you the entire blueprint of what I've done and that would heal yours, but it just doesn't work that way. We all have our own set of wounds. You and me have the same illness, and so we have a lot of the same themes. So I can teach you, I feel like I hope that I can teach you a lot of things that I've learned on my own healing journey, the things that have worked for me, and my ability to separate what things I think are themes for this illness and what things are unique to me. But even so, again, there are things that are unique to me and things that are unique to you, because we all have different stories, we all have different journeys, we have different personalities, we have different astrology charts, we have different tendencies, we have different things that we're supposed to learn in this lifetime. So you have to go on the journey yourself. I have to go on my own journey, and my loved ones have to go on their journey, and that brings me so much peace. And I don't know if that resonates with you. If it doesn't, take it or leave it, whether it does or not. If it does, you could look into past lives or just hold on to this idea and see how it helps you. The same could be true for ancestral trauma. And I have not gone into that. I don't have as much of an understanding about that. It hasn't been shown to me that it applies necessarily to me, but ancestral trauma that comes through the family line, I've been aware that it could be. I sort of do this when I'm describing with past lives a little bit, just an inkling in the back of my mind that it might not all be past lives. It might be the ancestral trauma that came through my DNA. That is a possibility. And just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it's not there. Just because I don't know of it, because I haven't found something that resonates with me, doesn't mean that it's not there and it's not true. But those kinds of things, they're similar because they take the pressure and the blame and the victim sort of mode and focus that's so easy to do when we're focused on the current life that we're trying to make sense of. So let me know if this resonates with you. If it does resonate, please push the like button on this video and share it online with anybody else that's struggling with any kind of chronic fatigue, illness that you think that it might benefit, and subscribe to my channel. If this stuff resonates with you, please subscribe to my channel. It would help me out a lot, and I'd love to see you back here. Again, I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.